You're sitting at your Seder, and it comes the time to recite the 10 plagues. It's pretty universal custom that people take either their finger or a spoon and they take out a drop of wine or grape juice for each of the 10 plagues. We tend to think of them as the 10 plagues. Some people even have finger puppets, one on each of their fingers for the 10 plagues. And yet in the Torah, they are not handled as one big package. Last week's Parsha Va'era featured the first 7, and this week's Parsha of Bo features the final 3. Why are they divided like this? Was it to create a cliffhanger that we can't wait until next week to find out what's going to happen? There's much that has been written about how the plagues are divided. Some analyses look at 3, 3, and 3, and the final 1 of the killing of the firstborn. But for this week, we're going to focus on were there 7 last week and 3 this week. For those of you who might be familiar with the mystical tree of life and the 10 sfirot, there is a difference between what are called the lower 7 and the upper 3. The lower 7 sfirot are considered in the realm of emotion. You might recognize them or remember them from the 7 ushpizin that we talk about, the 7 guests that are featured at Sukkot, where one person comes on each of the days of Sukkot, representing each of the 7 sfirot. Or in the 7 weeks of counting between Pesach and Shavuot, where each week of Sfira features one of the different sfirot, one of the 7 sfirot. Why don't we ever talk about the other 3? That's always 7 or 7. 7 for Sukkot, 7 between Pesach and Shavuot. Those other 3, Chachma, Bina, and Da'at, are called the sfirot that relate to the mind. They are intellectual qualities as opposed to the realm of emotions. The Chachma, Bina, and Da'at is the Chabad that we know from Chabad Hasidus. Chachma, Cha, Bet, Bina, Da, Daled, Da'at, Chabad. Those upper 3 represent the intellect. In this week's Parsha of Bo, we see finally that Pharaoh is starting to crack. It is the beginning of the end of Mitzrayim, the beginning of the end of Egypt. After Moshe comes to Pharaoh and tells him that the plague of locusts is going to come, Moshe turns around and leaves Pharaoh. He turns around and turns his back to him. As soon as he turns his back to him, recognizing that Pharaoh no longer has as much authority as a king the way he did before, Pharaoh's own servants turn on Pharaoh, and they say to him, "How long is this going to be a snare to us? Let them leave. Let them go out and serve Hashem. Don't you already know that Egypt is lost?" It's the beginning of the end of Egypt. It's the beginning of the end of Pharaoh's intransigence, of his arrogance finally crumbling. This is the time where Pharaoh's mind is now involved. He is past the emotional response, and now he is in a place of mental stress. These final 3 plagues deal with this upper 3 sfirot, these upper 3 elements of a person, which is the mind. The mind is the place that really is the place where we have our emunah, our strength, our faith and trust in God. As Pharaoh's emunah in himself, his trust and arrogance relating to himself begins to go down, the emunah of the Jewish people rises to a higher level. It is an inverse relationship. The Jewish people are getting stronger as Pharaoh is getting weaker. These final 3 plagues are the finality of what had been Egypt. As we start to enter this Parsha, or as we conclude this Parsha on this Shabbos, we should give thought to where our own minds are at, the source of our thinking. How are we thinking about our relationship with Hashem? How we recognize that Hashem is the king, not Pharaoh, not anybody earthly, but that Hashem is the master of all. With this, we enhance our own emunah, and as we come to Pesach in just a few short weeks, and we again go to our tables and we will take our drop of wine out for each of the plagues, perhaps we'll do the first 7 and the final 3 a bit differently. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Thank you.